Hi. Hello, everyone. I'm Robert Paul Weston, and I am recording this in London, England, to be broadcast or watched wherever in Georgetown, Ontario. So this is going out to the Georgetown Public Library. And so thank you to Lisa and also Brandy who arranged this. They both work at the library. So I'm very happy to do this. Back to my hometown library. So you've sent me some questions here. I've got 10 questions. I'm going to try and get through them all. Here we go. So the first question here that you've sent me is your bio says you were once a trampolinist. What is that? Okay, so first of all, it's true. I was paid. Paid professionally to bounce on a trampoline at one point in my life. However, a trampolinist sounds like I was sort of an acrobat in the circus, and that is not true. I was a trampoline coach. So trampolining is actually a competitive sport that people compete internationally. Similar, it's a one event in gymnastics, and I was a coach when I was at university, coaching some mostly beginners, really, how to start in the world of competitive trampolining. But my publisher thought it sounded more interesting to call me a trampolinist, which sounds like maybe someone who supports trampolining. I don't know. Anyway, I was a trampoline coach, is what that is. It's very ordinary, really. Number two, you've lived in the US, Japan, Switzerland, the UK, and different parts of Canada, including Georgetown. Yes, I grew up in Georgetown, yes. Which one was your favorite? This is difficult. I've liked all those places. I think, where did I like the best? I don't know. I mean, I think what I've learned about myself in general is that I am a city person. I like living in big cities. So I live now in London, England, which is a big city. I did live in Toronto for a little while, and I lived in a medium-sized city in Japan. So I liked all of those places. But I think every place I've lived has had things I liked and things I didn't like. And I was always able to find things I liked. Now, of course, I did grow up in Georgetown, and I did grow up very near to the Georgetown Library. I grew up, I didn't grow up. I lived in a few houses in Georgetown, but when I was going to high school, and I went to Georgetown District High School, close to the library, I lived on Princess Anne Drive, which is right around the corner from the library. I spent a lot of time at the library, studying for tests at the library. So I have a lot of fond memories of Georgetown Library. So, Georgetown has a very special place because that's where I moved there when I was in kindergarten, and I lived there until I was an adult, basically, until I went away to university. Next question, also Georgetown related. Number 3, do you remember the guinea pigs at Georgetown Library? I do. The short answer is vaguely. I remember. There was a raised area down in the basement in the children's section. There was a raised area with some activities, and I think there were guinea pigs there. That is a hazy memory. I was very allergic to animals when I was a kid, so I probably stayed away from the guinea pigs. I don't know. I have a vague recollection. There were some wood chips on the floor in that section. I don't know. All right. So no, I don't remember the name. I don't know. Do you think you'll visit Georgetown again? I do think I will. However, there are no plans at the moment. Unfortunately, I don't live there, and my family doesn't live in Georgetown anymore. So when I go back to Canada to visit, I'm not going to Georgetown, and my sister lives in Miami, Florida now. So when I go to visit her family, it's it couldn't be further away in North America. So I don't go back to Georgetown very often, but I hope one day I will get there. I'll definitely let Georgetown Library know if I'm coming, but right now there is I I don't have any plans, I'm afraid. What was your number 5? What was your favorite book when you were growing up? Yeah, when I was growing up, I loved the books by Roald Dahl. I loved all Roald Dahl books and Dr. Seuss books. Those were my favorite books. And I actually, a lot of my books are in storage right now. So I don't have any Roald Dahl books in my home at the moment, which is weird. But I love Dr. Seuss, and I have If I Ran the Circus by Dr. Seuss, one of my favorite Dr. Seuss books. Not much of a story in this book, but I just loved, obviously, the rhyme. One of my inspirations for writing Zorgamazoo. And I have another book, which was one of my favorites. It's a strange book. I don't know if many of you know it. It's called Momo by Michael Ende, or Michael Ende. So he's a German author. And he is the author of a very famous book called Neverending Story. But for some reason, this was the first book that I read by him called Momo. And it's a very, very strange book. But I had never read anything like it before. And it was one of my favorite books when I was growing up. I absolutely loved it. And I still have a copy. I think it's one of the strangest, most interesting children's books ever written. And I recommend it. If you liked Zorgamazoo, you might like this book. They're not very similar, but yeah. Well, there's a little girl. That little girl is named Momo, and is she like Katrina? I don't know if she's like Katrina, but I don't know. Read it, see if you can find it. I don't know. I'm sorry. I apologize to librarians if you don't have that in your collection, but I recommend it. So maybe you will soon. All right, next. Where was I? What was that? That was 6. That was a 5. Now I'm on 6. Do you think Morty would like being in quarantine? How about Katrina? Well, this seems like an obvious question, doesn't it? Right? I mean, Morty likes staying at home. He would love quarantine. Katrina likes going off on adventures. She would hate quarantine. That's probably true, except Morty. It occurred to me that Morty loves sports. And all of sports have been canceled because you can't congregate in big crowds right now. So I think he would find things to really dislike about quarantine, because he would be at home and he would be like, oh, this is great. I never have to know and more adventures. I'm really excited about this. Let's now watch some, oh no, there's no sports. There's no Zorgly ball. What am I going to do? I don't know. He would be upset about that. But then I guess he likes historical sports. He likes all the old games. So maybe he'd watch some old footage on YouTube or something. Anyway, I think in general, Morty would like quarantine more than Katrina. 7. Could you see Zorgamazoo being made into a movie? If so, who would play Morty and who would play Katrina? Yeah, this is tricky, this one. I mean, the short answer is yes, of course, I would love Zorgamazoo to be made into a movie. If any of you have any of your parents are film producers and you know where to send them, I would love it to be a movie. That would be amazing. But I don't know who would play them. I can tell you that in my head, Morty's voice always sounds a little bit like an old actor, an old singer and actor, did a lot of like stage musicals. His name was Jimmy Durante. He had a kind of gravelly voice. He's not around anymore. So, but that's the voice I hear, kind of gravelly, like, hey, kind of a gravelly voice. Who does that? I don't know. Maybe Tom Waits, the singer Tom Waits, maybe would do his voice. Maybe Ron Perlman would be a good Morty. I don't know. Katrina. Wow, that's really difficult, because that's kind of like you need like a young actor, and I don't really know young actors. Although I have prepared for these questions a little bit, and I looked up someone who I liked. So there's a really weird animated film by Studio Ghibli, the Japanese animation company, called Porco Rosso, about a famous pilot who gets turned into a pig, but he's still a really good pilot. It's a strange film. But I really like this movie. It's a really strange movie, animated film. And there's a character in that film named Fio, who's like sort of it's like a young girl who's sort of like going off on adventures. Now, in the English version of the film, she was played by an actor named Kimberly Williams. And I really liked her English voice work in that. I'm thinking Zorgamazoo would be animated, by the way. So this is me talking from an animated point of view. She did her voice for that character, I think, fit with something like what Katrina would sound like to me. This is a long video, isn't it? This is longer than I thought. Okay, so next question. Here we go. Moving right along. Could you... No. 8. Who are you most like, Morty or Katrina? Yeah, that's another toughie. I'm somewhere in between, I think. Somewhere in between. I think generally my whole life has been basically moving from being more like Katrina to more like Morty as I get older. And Morty's a writer, journalist, and I'm a writer, so I spend a lot of time writing. So I guess I'm becoming more and more like Morty all the time, but there's definitely a big piece of Katrina somewhere inside me. I'm somewhere, but I'm definitely not one or the other. I'm somewhere in between. Question 9. What would you do if you weren't an author? I don't know. I think I might be. When I was a kid, I really liked science, and I liked the idea of being a scientist or an inventor or something. I would maybe be like a mad scientist making weird which is sort of like as close as you can be. I think a writer is as close as you can be to being a mad scientist without, I don't know, ending up in jail for inventing a robot that... Whoops. Should have turned that off. Okay. The modern world. So yeah, mad scientist. I would be a mad scientist. I don't know if that's a real job, but yeah. Maybe I'd be a trampoline coach. Yeah, it's possible. Okay. Number 10. Are you doing lots of writing during the pandemic? I am, actually. Yeah, I am writing a lot. Now, I can tell you that I am writing another book in verse. I'm writing another book in the same style as Zorgamazoo. So I'm doing a lot of writing, but because it's all poetry, it's very slow. So I'm hoping that during this pandemic, I'm going to come up with another book in verse, which some of you may be happy to hear. If you liked Zorgamazoo, I don't know if maybe some of you didn't like Zorgamazoo and you're like, oh, please, could you just write a normal book for once? I don't know. Anyway, so yes, the answer is yes, but a lot, because it's poetry, is not a lot in terms of word count, but I'm making good progress. So yes. Okay, I think that's all of your questions. This is a long video. I don't know how I'm going to send this to you. It's not going to fit in the email, but somehow we will get it to you. Thank you for reading Zorgamazoo. If you did like Zorgamazoo, I'm sure your librarian will recommend my other sort of rhyming poetry novel, Prince Pugly of Spud in the Kingdom of Spiff. Yeah, so otherwise, I will get back to writing. Please get back to reading or writing if you like writing. You may like writing. And thank you for listening. Thank you for sitting through all this. I'm sorry if this was too long. I'm not sure if there was a length that was good for this, but I can ramble if you give me the opportunity. All right, well, Georgetown, it's good to sort of see you again. And this is me signing off. I hope to see you in person at some point in the future. Bye-bye.